I, 50M, have a daughter, Emma, 26F, who I've always had a very close relationship with. I've been married to my wife, Emma's mom, Laura, 49F, for 30 years now. We're a solid family, or at least I thought we were. Here's the backstory. A couple of years ago, Emma met her now fiancé, Tom, 28M. Things moved fast between them, and she was head over heels for him. We were happy for her at first, but something changed about a year into their relationship. Emma became distant from us, especially her mom. Laura and Emma used to be really close, but all of a sudden, Emma started snapping at her for little things, avoiding family dinners, and not sharing anything about her life. Then we found out why. About a year and a half ago, I overheard Emma and Tom having a conversation when they didn't know I was around. She was saying horrible things about her mom stuff that really broke my heart. Emma was telling Tom that she couldn't stand how overbearing her mom was, that Laura always tried to control her, and that she felt like Laura was jealous of her life and success. She even said she resents her mom for putting so much pressure on her when she was younger. I was floored. Laura has always supported Emma in everything she did, from helping her through college to emotionally supporting her during rough patches. I never saw any of this coming, but instead of addressing it right then, I wanted to wait and talk to Emma calmly later. When I finally brought it up with her, she completely shut down and got defensive. She claimed I was taking her mom's side, and that I didn't understand what it was like to grow up with someone who was always in your business. She said some really hurtful things and ended up storming out. After that, she basically cut off her mom entirely, except for the absolute bare minimum communication for holidays or family events. Laura's heartbroken. I'm angry. It's been a mess. Fast forward to now, Emma's getting married. She called me last week to ask if I would walk her down the aisle. But here's the thing. I don't feel right doing it when she's treating her mother like this. Laura's not even invited to the wedding. Emma said it would make things too uncomfortable if her mom were there. I told Emma that I can't walk her down the aisle if she's excluding her mom, who's done nothing but love and support her all her life. I said that until she makes things right with her mom, I won't be part of the wedding. Emma was furious. She accused me of choosing mom over her, said I was ruining her big day, and claimed I was punishing her for being honest about her feelings. She's now threatening to go no contact with both of us, and I'm torn up inside. I love my daughter, but I can't stand by and watch her treat her mother like this. Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk her down the aisle? Comments. Commenter 1. I think you need to find out what happened between your daughter and her mom a year and a half ago. This didn't come out of nowhere. Commenter 2. Did you ever find out what your daughter meant when she said her mom always tried to control her? I think that's the key to you understanding her reaction. Commenter 3. You need to look at two possibilities and fairly. Take love out of the equation here. Either your wife was overbearing to your daughter and you completely ignored it or accepted it as normal, which is a strong possibility. Or Tom is the problem here and is isolating Emma from people she loves. Now that seems less likely as it's not both of you that Emma is not speaking to, it's just your wife. If it was Tom pulling the strings here, he'd have got her not speaking to both of you. Is Emma abandoning her friends? Another sign of abuse. You need to consider here that your wife is the problem. Update 1. I didn't expect my post to get this much attention, and honestly, I'm still trying to process everything. Things have changed a bit since I first posted, and unfortunately, it's not for the better. I tried reaching out to Emma again, hoping we could work things out, but what I found out has only made the situation worse. Here's what's happened. I sat down with Emma to try and calmly explain how much this situation has been hurting her mom and me, but she wasn't open to it. Instead, she told me she's asked Tom's mom to take on some of the important roles at the wedding that would normally be Laura's, like helping her get ready on the morning of the wedding and giving a speech at the reception. When I asked Emma why she didn't want her mother there at all, she laid out a few specific reasons that, frankly, felt more like excuses. First, she said Laura has a tendency to make everything about herself, and she was worried Laura would cause a scene or try to take the spotlight. Emma brought up how, at her engagement party, Laura made several comments to the guests about how hard it is to let go of your little girl, and kept trying to give a toast even though Emma and Tom had planned for only the best man and maid of honor to speak. Emma said she felt embarrassed, and that it was one of the reasons she felt Laura would try to control things on the wedding day. Emma also claimed Laura has a habit of undermining her decisions. For example, when Emma first started dating Tom, Laura expressed concerns that things were moving too fast, and Emma felt Laura was trying to influence her choice in partners. This is a sensitive topic for Emma because she feels Laura has never fully approved of Tom, and that tension would ruin the day. Hearing all this was hard. Laura may not be perfect, but the idea that she would intentionally make Emma's wedding about herself, or try to sabotage the day is just unfair. She's only ever wanted to be there for her daughter, and I know Laura's been nothing but supportive, even when she's had concerns about Tom. When Emma told me that Tom's mom, Sandra, would be filling these roles instead, my heart broke. Laura has dreamed of helping Emma on her wedding day since she was a little girl. Being uninvited was already devastating, but hearing that Tom's mom is taking her place in these intimate moments feels like a complete betrayal. It's not just that Laura's being excluded, it's that someone else is being given the role she should have had. I tried telling Emma that this would only hurt her relationship with her mom further, but she doubled down, saying she needed people around her who supported her decisions and didn't make her feel guilty. She's convinced that Tom's mom understands her better and is more in tune with who she is now. It was a gut punch to hear that, especially knowing how much Laura has always supported her. As for walking her down the aisle, no, I haven't changed my mind. I can't be part of this wedding when Laura is being disrespected like this. It feels wrong to stand by Emma's side while she's doing this to her mother, who has only ever tried to be there for her. I'm not sure where our family goes from here. Emma is now saying she might cut contact with us if we don't respect her boundaries, and honestly, I'm heartbroken. I don't want to lose my daughter, but I also can't stand by and let her continue to treat her mom this way. Thanks again for all the support. I'm still trying to make sense of everything, and I guess only time will tell how this plays out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Clarification. Laura brought up that Emma may be moving too quickly in her relationship with Tom. How quickly? When did they meet? When did they start dating? When did they get engaged? How fast are we talking here? OP. Emma and Tom met about 3 years ago, and things got serious pretty quickly. They started dating just a few weeks after meeting, and within about 6 months, they had moved in together. Laura expressed concerns at the time, feeling like it was all happening a bit fast, especially since Emma hadn't been in many long-term relationships before. Then, around a year into their relationship, Tom proposed. So, from meeting to engagement, it was roughly a year and a half. I think Laura just wanted Emma to slow down and really get to know Tom before making such big life decisions. But Emma took it as her mom trying to control her. Commenter 2. Surely you aren't paying for the wedding? OP. No, we're not paying for the wedding. After the fallout between Emma and Laura, it didn't feel right to contribute financially to an event that Laura isn't even invited to. Emma and Tom have been handling the cost themselves, which I think has only added to the tension. If things were different, we would have been happy to help, but given the situation, it just doesn't sit right with me. Commenter 3. I'm glad your daughter finally found a family that seems to really care about her. OP. To suggest that Emma finally found a family that cares about her is completely unfair. Laura and I have always loved Emma deeply, and that's exactly why this situation hurts so much. Laura is absolutely heartbroken. She's been crying ever since Emma started pulling away, which has been going on for over a year now. It's been devastating for both of us. Laura has always been there for Emma, supporting her in everything. So to be pushed aside like this is incredibly painful. We want nothing more than to rebuild our relationship with her, but the way she's treating her mother is simply wrong. Update 2. I didn't think things could get worse after my last update, but here we are. If you're expecting a happy resolution, brace yourself because this situation took a turn that I couldn't have predicted, even in my wildest nightmares. After my last post, Emma and I didn't speak for a while. Honestly, I needed some time to process everything, and I think she did too. Laura, on the other hand, has been spiraling. The exclusion from the wedding has taken a bigger toll on her than I imagined. She's been oscillating between intense sadness and a sort of quiet numbness that's scaring me. Every time a wedding detail pops up on social media or someone asks about Emma, Laura's face just crumples. It's like watching someone slowly break apart in real time, and I don't know how to fix it. Anyway, about a week ago, I got a text from Emma, completely out of the blue. No pleasantries, just a short, cold message. I'm going no contact with mom. You can stay in my life if you want, but she's done. It felt like a punch to the gut. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or just throw my phone across the room. But what really set me off was this part. You can stay in my life if you want. As if I'm just some accessory she can keep around or discard based on convenience. I decided enough was enough. I called her. No more dancing around the issue. I was going to get to the bottom of this once and for all. We argued, as expected, but it wasn't like our other arguments. This one felt final, like we'd both drawn lines in the sand, and there was no going back. Emma finally admitted something that left me completely stunned. Tom had been encouraging her to go no contact with Laura for a while now. He apparently believed that Laura's concerns about their relationship were toxic, and that Laura was holding her back from fully embracing her future with him. According to Emma, Tom had been her rock, throughout this whole ordeal, validating her feelings and supporting her decision to cut ties. He convinced her that Laura's behavior, whether intentional or not, was manipulative, and that Emma needed to protect her peace by cutting Laura out of her life entirely. And guess who was in Emma's ear about this the whole time? Tom's mom, Sandra. Emma let it slip that Sandra had been talking to her about how important it is to weed out negativity before the wedding and how mothers like Laura sometimes just can't let go and need to be kept at a distance for the sake of a healthy marriage. It all clicked. Sandra wasn't just filling the role of helpful mother-in-law. At the wedding, she was actively working to replace Laura in Emma's life. And Emma was eating it up. I lost it. I told Emma that she was being manipulated, that Tom and Sandra were trying to isolate her from her family, and that she was letting it happen. I pleaded with her to take a step back and really think about what was happening. But she was so far gone, so convinced that this was all for her own good, that my words just bounced off her. She said I was paranoid, that Tom and Sandra were the only ones who truly understood her, and that Laura and I had been blind to how we'd been making her feel for years. And then, the bombshell. Emma said she was planning to move across the country after the wedding. She and Tom had already been looking at houses near his family. She wanted a fresh start, a life where she wasn't being smothered by her past. She told me that if I wanted to be part of that life, I'd have to accept that Laura wasn't going to be included. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, what to feel. It was like my daughter had been taken over by some stranger, someone who looked like Emma but didn't sound like her, didn't act like her. I couldn't recognize the person on the other end of the line. I told her I couldn't accept that. I couldn't turn my back on Laura, not after everything we've been through together. I made it clear that if she was cutting Laura out, she was cutting me out too. It wasn't an ultimatum, just a statement of fact. I wouldn't be a part of a life that didn't include the woman who raised her, who sacrificed so much for her, only to be discarded like yesterday's news. Emma didn't take it well. She hung up, and that was that. No dramatic goodbyes, no tearful apologies, just silence. The wedding's in a few days, and I've heard nothing from her since. Laura doesn't know yet. I haven't found the right time to tell her, and I'm honestly terrified of what it'll do to her when she finds out. She's barely holding it together as it is, and this might break her completely. I wish I had some kind of resolution to offer, but I don't. The wedding is happening whether we're there or not, and as much as it hurts, I'm starting to accept that I may have lost my daughter. I don't know what's going to happen next, and that's the scariest part of all. Maybe Emma will come around. Maybe she won't. Maybe I'll never hear from her again. All I know is that I have to focus on Laura now. She's the one who's been abandoned, betrayed, and left to pick up the pieces of a life she thought was solid. And I'm standing right there with her, for better or worse. That's all I can do. Update 3. The wedding day came and went. Laura and I stayed home, barely speaking to each other. I think part of us was waiting for the phone to ring, hoping Emma would call in some last-minute change of heart, but it never came. Laura tried to keep herself busy by pretending like the wedding wasn't happening, like it was some far-off event that we didn't have to worry about. But I knew better. Every so often, I'd catch her staring at the clock, her face tight with this quiet agony. Neither of us admitted it, but we both knew what time Emma would be walking down the aisle, and the silence in our house was deafening during those hours. It felt like the world stopped spinning. Then, 3 days after the wedding, I got the call. Not from Emma, not from Tom, but from Sandra. I remember staring at the phone, her name flashing across the screen, and feeling this cold dread settle into my bones. Why would she be calling me? With shaky hands, I answered. Sandra was hysterical. She was talking fast, rambling about how everything had gone wrong, how Tom and Emma were fighting, and how she didn't know what to do. Through her sobs, I managed to piece together the story. Apparently, right after the wedding, Emma and Tom got into a massive argument. From what Sandra said, it all started with a comment Tom made something about how Emma needed to be more grateful that she had found a real family. Emma took offense, obviously. She'd just been through the emotional ringer of cutting us off and going through with the wedding. So to hear that from Tom of all people, it must have hit a nerve. She snapped, accusing Tom of never really caring about her feelings, just pushing his own agenda. Sandra said things escalated quickly after that, with Emma threatening to leave, saying she made a huge mistake cutting us out of her life. But it wasn't just a fight, it was a full-on breakdown. Emma had apparently been bottling up all her doubts and second-guessing her decision to cut us off, but she didn't feel like she could back out of the wedding, not with everything set in stone. She told Tom she felt trapped, manipulated, and that she didn't even know who she was anymore. Sandra said that after the fight, Emma stormed out and went to stay with a friend. She didn't take her phone. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. She just left. No one knew where she was for 2 whole days. I hung up on Sandra mid-sentence. I didn't have time for her dramatics. My mind was racing with one thought. I needed to find Emma. I called every mutual friend I could think of, and eventually, one of Emma's college roommates texted me her location. She'd been crashing at their place, apparently trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't wait. I got in the car and drove straight to the address. When I got there, Emma looked like she had been through hell. Her eyes were puffy from crying, her hair a mess, and she had this lost, haunted look in her eyes that broke me. She didn't say anything when she saw me, just collapsed into my arms, sobbing. We didn't speak for a long time. I just held her while she cried it out. When she finally calmed down enough to talk, she confessed everything. How Tom and Sandra had been manipulating her for months, feeding her insecurities and driving a wedge between us. How she'd been so desperate to prove herself and be independent that she couldn't see how toxic they had become. She admitted that deep down, she didn't even want to go through with the wedding, but she felt like she had to, like she'd already gone too far to back out. And then came the hardest part, the guilt. Emma told me she regretted cutting us off, that she hated herself for what she'd done to her mother, and that she didn't know how to fix it. She was terrified that it was too late to make things right with Laura. She kept asking me if Laura would ever forgive her. I told her the truth: Laura loves her more than anything, and while she's hurt, she would want nothing more than to have her daughter back in her life. Emma hesitated for a long time before finally agreeing to come home with me. She wasn't ready to face Laura just yet, but she needed to be somewhere familiar, somewhere safe. I knew it was going to be tough, but I hoped that, given time, things could start to heal. The drive home was tense. Neither of us spoke much, both of us lost in our own thoughts. When we finally pulled into the driveway, Laura was standing at the window, staring out into the street. When she saw Emma step out of the car, her face crumpled. She ran outside, and for the first time in over a year, mother and daughter fell into each other's arms. I don't think I've ever seen Laura cry so hard in my life. She was shaking, holding onto Emma like she was afraid to let go. They didn't say much, not at first. There weren't any grand apologies or heartfelt speeches, just two people who had been hurt beyond belief, trying to find their way back to each other. It was awkward and raw, but it was real. For the next few days, Emma stayed with us, trying to put the pieces of her life back together. She's still figuring things out. She hasn't decided what she's going to do about her marriage with Tom, but I think deep down, she knows it's over. Tom has been trying to reach her, but she's not ready to talk to him. She needs space, and I'm not pushing her. Sandra, predictably, has been blowing up my phone, but I blocked her. I'm done with her drama. As for Laura, it's going to take time. Emma's betrayal cut deep, and while she's happy to have her daughter back, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. They've started talking, really talking, and I think that's a good first step. They're both trying, and that's all I can ask for right now. The future is still uncertain. Emma's talking about therapy, both for herself and possibly for us as a family. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the way things were, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe this whole ordeal has changed us too much.